Hey, what's up everyone, and welcome to my review for the confusingly titled The Last Exorcism Part Dos. And it kind of makes sense if you think about it, because it's supposed to be the second part of The Last Exorcism, so that doesn't mean it's the second Last Exorcism. No, this is just the continuing adventures of The Last Exorcism. And I am actually a big fan of the first one, because I thought that had a great main character. The priest, I can't remember the actor's name, it's been a little while, but the priest in that movie was a great character, and I loved his story about him trying to pretty much show people, make a documentary about how fake an exorcism really is, because he's a priest that lost his faith and blah blah blah, and of course a lot of bad things happen. It's a found footage horror film. It had creepy parts, and it had a great performance from a girl named Ashley Bell. Besides, of course, the priest, he did great, but she was great as well, and I really liked her. And this movie is a continuation, except it doesn't have the priest this time, and it has Ashley Bell's character, Nell, as the main character. So I was actually really looking forward to this, even though it dropped the whole found footage portion of the series and went for a straightforward movie. I was still looking forward to it. So, what did I think of The Last Exorcism Part 2? Well, let's talk about it. Alright, so the story for The Last Exorcism Part 2 follows Nell Sweeter, once again played by Ashley Bell. And at the end of the last film, let's just say she was in a pretty bad predicament. I don't really want to spoil it, but let's just say she was in a bad predicament. There might have been a demon possessing her at one point. His name was Abraham Lincoln, I can't remember his name. But there was a demon somewhere in the film, it's called The Last Exorcism, so you should expect there to be a demon possessing someone. So, in this film, it takes place maybe an hour or two after the end of the last film, and she's in a random person's house. She's actually looking really crazy. She's knocking pans and pots around. She's like slashing people. She's insane. So she's brought into a hospital where a doctor goes, yeah, she's pretty insane, but we're going to give her a chance. We're going to send her to an all-girls home, which is not a good idea. If she's declared insane, you shouldn't put her into an all-girls home, but they do, and she actually starts to recover a bit. She actually starts to make some friends. She starts to smile and laugh and have fun again. She actually starts to befriend a boy and have a relationship there, and everything's okay for a little while, until, of course, the demon Alabama, whatever. I don't know his name, but the demon comes back and wants her back, and of course he shows her a bunch of weird things, showing her people that she thought were dead, but really are dead, but the demon's screwing with her, showing her weird things, scaring her, jump scares. She keeps waking up out of bed out of nowhere, seeing weird things, and of course you see where this film is kind of going until the ending, which I didn't see coming. I didn't know that was actually going to happen, and it's not really a twist at all, really. I just expected it to end kind of like a like any horror film would, but it doesn't really end like that, and I'll give it credit. The ending was surprising, but everything else, not so much. While the story, like I said, doesn't really work, especially for a horror film, seeing that, it works, but it's predictable. I really like Ashley Bell in this. I really liked her in the first film, but here she is centerpiece. She is the main character, and you really do like her. First, you really feel good for her because she's making friends and she's being happy and stuff. She's smiling, she's, touching things. She touches a lot of things in this film, which is kind of weird, but you really do like her. I did, at least, and I think the actress did a great job here. The thing is that why she was so good in that first film is because we really liked her, but she was so good with all the exorcism parts where she's actually like twisting and bending around. Here you don't really see that too much, which, you don't see that at all, really. Actually, there's one point where you kind of see that, where like she's bent back a little bit, but for the most part you don't see that too much. The rest of the actors do a good job as well, but the script here isn't amazing. The dialogue isn't amazing. The only part that I would say the script is really good is with the main character, Nell, where we get actually a lot of, character development, I would say, definitely. But all the other side characters are completely forgettable. This actor's do an okay job, but nothing amazing. But while I really did like some of this movie, I have to admit, the scares in this film were so cheap, and I hate some of them so much because what they do is that they actually reuse scares from the first movie. They do. They actually reuse clips, a lot of clips from the first movie, and audio portions of the film, just add creepiness. But a lot of the jump scares in this film are from the first movie, where they, something's happening, and then oh, she remembers a part from the first film where she goes insane and stuff, and you see that clip, and it's really cheap, extremely cheap. One of the cheapest jump scare movies I've seen in a very long time, and I've seen some in past few years, definitely. Hell, Mama was pretty cheap with jump scares, but this one really just, oh my god, it was so cheap. And most of the other original ones, you know, some of the creepy visual ones, really just weren't creepy. Like, there's one part where it was in a church, you might have saw it in the trailer, where I thought that could have really been creepy. It really wasn't. Like, when I saw it in the movie, I was like, I'm kind of laughing because the guy's performance in this is kind of silly. But besides that, I mean, nothing else here is really visual scares. I mean, there's little portions here and there, but for the most part, it's just jump scare, jump scare, jump scare. Oh, this guy's head turned. Oh, scary. And it's just really bad with the horror, I have to admit. But I do really like the main character. I really want to see her pull through, and I was really enjoying the ending. I actually thought the ending was pretty good for the most part. But the scares, there's only one part that got me, and again, kind of like The Devil Inside from last year, it was a freaking dog. A dog scared me. Screw you, I hate dogs. So overall, this is a really weird movie for me to rate, because the first one was actually extremely scary, but again, it actually had that character development. I really like the characters. Here, it's only I really like the one main character. I really only like her and her character development. I really felt good for her in the beginning. Oh, she's getting her life back together. And then I felt kind of sad because the demon had to come back and screw that up. But for the most part, everything else is not that great. So I have to give it, I think I have to give it straight up just 20 out of 40 because the jump scares really didn't work. And also, this is another bad thing. I was the only one in the theater. The one person. So it's really easy to scare me if I'm in a dark, big room with a bunch of chairs, you know, creaking and stuff, and you still don't scare me. That's really bad. So while the movie isn't scary, I do really like the main character, and she really does lead the film, and I really want to see what happens, even though everything else isn't very scary. So overall, there you go. 20 out of 40, kind of disappointing, but it's not as bad as some critics are saying. Hell, I see critics giving it 0s and 1 out of 10s and stuff. Really bad scores, but this one, not that bad. I don't think so. So anyway, there you go. Thank you and goodbye.